It is homecoming at James Slater Field as the number 1 in Class 5A Whiteland Warriors play host to the Perry Meridian Falcons, who have gotten off to a rough start on the year, 1-3 in their first 4 games. I'm Jaden Collins, along my side Michael Park and Cooper Williams, and it will be hard for the Warriors not to overlook this one.
Yeah, I mean, any day, any Friday night, you can have any team play well. You know, you never want to underestimate a team because any team can come out and they can put up points on you if you underlook how they're going to play.
Yeah, and that would be the most dangerous thing for the Warriors to do right now, is just to sort of blow Perry by. We've seen it before. We've seen upsets. And to break a Warrior winning streak here would just be heartbreaking for the team.
And for the Warriors, it all starts with the offense and the running game. You had Jonathan Crowley and Peyton Emberton rush for around 100 yards each last game. And I feel like they finally found that perfect balance on offense beforehand. In those last 2 games leading up to the Franklin game, where they won 21-0, Jonathan Crowley only had 53 rushing yards in both games combined. Peyton Emberton, of course, running for over 200 yards in both of those games combined. So I feel like last week they finally found that perfect balance. What can they do to keep that going?
Well, I mean, you just got to give the ball to both of them. Getting them both touches can help them getting yards, and it can make Perry question who you're going to give it to. Because at any point you can give the ball to either of them, and they can be dangerous for their defense. So you just got to keep that in mind, that whoever Whiteland hands it off to can possibly get them lots of yards and can push the momentum against this Perry defense.
Yeah, and as we saw in our Franklin game, having 2 runners is incredibly important to keep them from getting tired. I think we saw in the Franklin game, the runners started to get lethargic, while Peyton Emberton and Jonathan Crowley were still able to get that good yardage.
Yeah, and I know we love to talk about our offense, but the defense has been immaculate throughout these first 4 games. 7.5 points allowed per game, among the top in the state, and also among the top in the state. Tied for 8th in tackling is Brady Stanifer, who has 42 total tackles on the season.
Well, I think defense not only helps them with allowing less points, but also helps their offense, have a sense of we have a bit of time. Because if the defense can hold the team to less yards and less possible touchdowns, Whiteland's offense does not have to have heavy loads in the first half. They don't have to score as much because the defense can take down whoever's running, whoever's possibly receiving, to allow the offense to be settled down a little bit.
And when talking about the defense, you have to mention Mason Darlington, who had 6 tackles for loss against Franklin. A dominant breakout performance for Darlington that he has been striving for all year round and working hard to get all year round. But pointing away from the front 7, you're going to have a test tonight. Isaiah Hunter, the wide receiver, the star wide receiver, as I will mention, for Perry Meridian. On the season, 15 receptions, 198 yards, and a touchdown. It's almost impossible to stop him. He also does kick returns. It's going to be a tough test for Nyrius Moore-Smith and the rest of that secondary.
Well, Whiteland doesn't see many pass-first teams. You saw it with Lawrence North, where he got 4 interceptions. So the defensive backs have to be big for the Warriors. They have to be able to drop back, but they also have to help on the run game. They have to be able to maneuver to possibly drop back, defensive pass, or drop in and possibly stop the runner from gaining too many yards.
Yeah, and for Whiteland, they've been really great at that, obviously only allowing 7.5 points per game, as I mentioned before. But now looking back, as I mentioned before, Nyrius Moore-Smith, the anchor of that secondary for the Warriors. But also in that secondary, we do have an injury update. Caden Milligan will be inactive for tonight with an ankle injury. He leads that secondary with a bunch of tackles. I believe 21 total tackles on the season, and that will be a huge blow for the Warriors.
Yeah, injuries are bad, but anytime you have to have another player come out here and do the best that they can, because, with someone out, everybody has to do their job. So Nyrius Moore-Smith, Malik Perkins, and the rest of the defense have to be able to cover those receivers. Because, Perry possibly going to pass more than some of the teams we've seen. They're going to run a little bit. So you just have to be ready for whatever's coming at you.
Focusing back onto the offensive side of the ball, it is going to be a tough test to stop Ikanki Inyang for Perry Meridian. He is a beast at the outside linebacker position with 31 total tackles 8 of them solo, 23 assists, 2 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, one of those a sack, and a forced fumble, a punt block. He does it all for this Falcons defense. What do you think Fisher will do schematically to kind of, counter that attack?
I think Fisher will do what he's always done for the Whiteland. I think they'll push the run game and throw when they have the chance. But running is a big key for this Whiteland Warriors. And just to put pressure on that defense, even if Perry has great defense, if the Whiteland puts pressure on him, there's not much they can do. Because if Whiteland gets started, they get started.
Yeah, and looking at Perry's O-line, most of their O-line is made up of sophomores and juniors. So they lack that experience that our all-varsity lineup has.
Well, it's a great time to remind you that this broadcast of Whiteland football is brought to you by Johnson County Axe Throwing, located at 6001 North US 31 in Whiteland. Johnson County Axe Throwing is safe and fun for the whole family. With seasonal leagues, corporate events, and 50% off for military and their families, there's always something to love at Johnson County Axe Throwing, proud sponsor of the Whiteland Bee Sports Network. WBSN would also like to thank Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender for being a title supporter of Whiteland Athletics. Family owned and committed to the community, Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender. Still awaiting the teams to exit the tunnel. Great time to talk about the uniform combo for tonight, which will be interesting. Black on blue for the first time in school history for the Warriors.
Most of the time, uniforms don't really affect how you play, but there is a bit of superstition behind it. Uniforms definitely change the mindset going into the game because you never know. You never play in these, so you never know how they're going to feel if you run. You're never going to know how they're going to feel if you got to tackle somebody. So you just got to go in there with the same mindset you've always been going in with. Want to know, you got to go in with that, and you just got to play your game.
Yeah, and you say uniforms never really make a difference, but, as a former player, wearing those black uniforms on a scorcher like tonight, it can kind of wear you down a little bit, but we'll see if it probably won't be too big of a deal for the Warriors going in.
Yeah, wearing black uniforms, attract the heat from the sun, can get hot, and you can get tired real quick. But that's something we've seen from the Warriors wearing these black uniforms, is they don't get tired as quick as these other teams. They stay pumping it throughout the game, throughout, either halves. Whiteland just stays going at it the whole game.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll have action when you return. You are watching Whiteland football on the Whiteland Bee Sports Network.
Water, you're going to want to look for weeds, sunken structures, down trees, stuff like that. And let that breeze tell you where you want to go. Windy days like this, those bait fish will come swimming closer to shore. They'll bring the big boys with them, those bass and those pike. And they like cooler temperatures, so you ain't likely to have much luck.
You're good at giving fishing advice. We're good at your insurance. Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance. And stop knocking on wood.
Hi, I'm Matt Wolford, president of the IHSAA Foundation, and we need your help. We need your help so the youth of our community can develop advanced leadership skills. We need your help giving high school administrators and coaches the instruction and insight they need to be better role models and teachers. To learn more or to make a tax-deductible contribution, go to IHSAAfoundation.org. You'll not only be contributing to the foundation of the IHSAA, you'll be contributing to the foundation of our community.
Becoming a licensed sports official is a great way to make a positive difference in the community and support the over 160,000 Indiana student athletes that participate across 22 IHSAA sports. Sports officiating allows you to stay connected to the game, become a role model for our young student athletes, earn extra money, and support the patrons and communities of our IHSAA member schools. To learn more about becoming a licensed IHSAA official, log on to ihsaa.org/officials today.
13,000 feet has a way of testing a man's soul. After all, we were never meant to take on such an endeavor. That long drop is what separates human from superhuman. And here we are, right here, right now.
You're good at motivation, we're good at your insurance. Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance and stop knocking on wood.
Welcome back to Whiteland Community High School. They're playing Enter Sandman as the Warriors approach the tunnel. Coming out first, of course, the visiting Perry Meridian Falcons. Perry Meridian faithful in front of us as we're on the visiting side for this action. And now here come the Whiteland Warriors.
You can see the student section, see the fans getting up. They'll be big for this game, staying loud for this Whiteland team.
And the Warriors taking a walking out of the tunnel approach, something you rarely see. But boy, do they have swagger as they are walking out of there.
Yeah, seeing them live now, the black and blue jerseys are definitely a good fit for this Whiteland team.
And Whiteland, of course, as we mentioned before, #1 in Class 5A, a huge achievement for the program, but they still have so much work to do. Of course, we hate to look forward, but you still have Martinsville coming up, you still have Mooresville coming up, and it is going to be an action-packed second half of the regular season for the Whiteland Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, you start off great early, but you have 2 great teams coming up next 2 weeks. It's going to be a challenge for the Warriors, but if they get by, then they've made it past, and they're definitely going to go for the playoffs.
Well, we are approaching the coin toss of tonight's action. And Whiteland Choirs will be out to perform the national anthem. For that, we are going to take a break. You are watching Whiteland football on the Whiteland B Sports Network. Welcome back to James Slater Field, home of the Warriors, who play host to the Perry Meridian Falcons in an inter-conference matchup, mid-state conference matchup, pardon me. The Warriors, 5A, #1 in the state, Perry Meridian 6A, but off to a 1-3 start. And as we mentioned in the pregame show, it'll be tough for the Warriors not to overlook this matchup.
If I were the Warriors, I just keep that same mindset you've had going into the earlier games of the season. Can't overlook this game. Obviously, anything can happen. So if I were the Warriors, I just keep doing what I was doing for the first 4 games, and just see what happens from there.
Yeah, we got to play with the same intensity that we played Franklin last week.
Well, your captains for tonight, it will be Devin Armstrong, Cam Cooper, Peyton Dotson, and Caden Turner for the Warriors, 4 of the 30 seniors on this Whiteland Warriors football roster.
Yeah, Whiteland is definitely more experienced than Perry, as Perry does not have close to as many seniors as Whiteland. So, we can see that experience possibly make a difference in this game. Who knows, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, Perry, as you mentioned, lacking experience in their offensive 2-deep, at least listed as starters. Only seniors and sophomores. No one in the junior class listed as a starter on the offense.
Yeah, seniors obviously have more experience. Sophomores don't have the most experience, but they can provide a different level of energy that maybe other players can't. But having no juniors in the starting lineup is definitely not something you see very often, because most of the time juniors are that bridge player. Sometimes you need the juniors to possibly take a leadership role, and sometimes you just need them to create more energy, as possibly they can better than the seniors and better than the sophomores.
Looks like Whiteland will be kicking off to begin the game, assuming they won the toss, and will defer to the second half as they did against Franklin. David Mathis will do the kicking duties for the Warriors. And back to return, ever so dangerous, Isaiah Hunter for Perry Meridian.
Yeah, and something we saw earlier in this pregame, they had a lot of drop punts and a lot of drop kickoffs. So that's something to necessarily look out for, because it can possibly create mishaps on the Perry side, as Whiteland could possibly retain those punts and, possibly have Perry lose yardage on those kickoffs.
So it's Isaiah Hunter and Byron Hahn for Perry Meridian deep to return. Isaiah Hunter had a return last week, went for 88 yards, so something to look out for on this approaching kickoff. And we are off at James Slater Field. Hunter starts his return at the 7, weaves through a few tacklers before he's brought down by Dalton Hughes and Keegan Grandinetti. Perry will start their drive on the 27-yard line.
And now Whiteland's defense has to get started, as they have done all season. Again, Perry haven't scored in the first half at all this season. So if Whiteland can possibly stop him here again and stop him in the second half, you can definitely favor them in not only defense but the offense.
And a newsmaker at starting quarterback for tonight, Ivan Caldera. He played the backup role for a couple weeks, but after Alan Zupan's only 2 completion performance against Plainfield, Caldera gets the nod. Play action, drops back, throws a deep one intended for Hahn. Way overthrown, however, Nyrius Moore-Smith in coverage.
Yeah, that's something we see with these Perry quarterbacks, is they like to pass first more than they rush. They're averaging negative yards on the rush, but something with this backup quarterback is they may look to that rush play more often than their pass. So Whiteland has to be wary of if they're going to pass or not. The defensive backs have to have pass coverage, but they also have to need run coverage to make sure Perry does not gain those yards.
And something to look out for. Caldera going into this game only 2 for 13 for 50 yards last week, and 3 carries for negative 13. I'm assuming they're counting sacks there. He also had 1 fumble, so not the most impressive performance, as he hands off to Hunter, and he is brought down way behind the line. Jonathan Hunter, the running back, on the carry.
Yeah, you could see Mason Darlington just shoot right through there trying to go for that sack. He just lost his footing there and slipped. But that's exactly what we want to see from the Warriors tonight. It's just that D-line rushing them.
Hunter on the season, 10 carries, 21 yards, pardon me. And it's really a testament to the struggle of this Perry run game. Only 10 yards total last week in the running game. Caldera under center, screen to Isaiah Hunter. And he's going to make the most of that one, getting the first down. Brought down finally by Malik Perkins.
Yeah, and not terrible coverage by Whiteland's defense there. Hunter just got past the defense to get that first down, and Whiteland needs to, improve on those play-action passes just to, possibly stop Perry from getting most of the first downs.
And something you don't see often from Perry, under center, they're typically a shotgun team, and usually in high school you see teams do either or, shotgun or under center, but Perry looking to mix it up early. Caldera under center once again. Hand off to Jonathan Hunter. Hunter sheds a tackler and barrels around for a 8-yard gain. He'll bring up 2nd and 2 for the Falcons.
Yeah, and something I saw with Whiteland's defense there was Brady Sandifer getting through that O-line to the quarterback. However, they did go with the run, and they got about 8 yards on that. So maybe we see that if they pass again, maybe Brady Sandifer gets a sack, but they also got to be wary of if they run.
Saw it so many times from Whiteland last week, the bend don't break philosophy. Hopefully they're remaining true to that on this drive. It is a sweep to Hunter. He sheds a couple tacklers, goes to work, gets a 7-yard gain. And that'll bring up another Perry Meridian first down.
Yeah, and that's just something that Whiteland has to figure out is if, on those runs, that's where Perry is getting their most yardage at this point. They've also gone to the run more than they have gone to the pass. So Whiteland needs to figure out what they're going to do on these defensive formations to, stop Perry from getting those yards, because it can definitely change the momentum of this game.
Yeah, and Perry Meridian, they came out under center. That kind of shocked us a little bit. And now they run a sweep. Are they playing a little bit of copycat for the Whiteland Warriors? Caldera under center again. Hand off to Hunter. And he just continues to fall forward, getting a gain of 4. I'll bring up 2nd and 6 for the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure early in this game, Perry has already surpassed the amount of rushing yards they have had last game. So, that's definitely something that Whiteland needs to improve on, like I've been saying, is they need to have better run coverage.
Yeah, the variety of Perry's team is what's making this such an intense first couple minutes in the game. We've seen so many different formation types and plays run here. It's nerve-wracking.
2 receivers to the top of the screen for Caldera. As he hands off to Jonathan Hunter, who is brought down around the line of scrimmage by a host of Warriors.
Yeah, definitely better run coverage on that play than Whiteland. However, I would expect a pass on this play, as they have not passed since they got that first down. So maybe they go with the pass to fake Whiteland out and, try to get first down and more.
So no gain on the play. Brings up 3rd and 6. Falcons break the huddle. And Caldera will be under center once again. Caldera rolling out. Dumps it off. And fighting for the first down. That will be Jalen Young, the tight end.
Yeah, and he ended up getting that first down. Like I said, Perry went with the pass. Good coverage on the players running deep, but they could not stop the slant route by the tight end right there, allowing them to get that first down.
So another 1st and 10 for the Falcons, and I bet going into this one, people were betting whether or not they'd get this many first downs throughout the whole length of the game, but on that first drive, nonetheless.
Yeah, I don't want to jump the gun and call the Warriors start sluggish, but it's not looking great.
Caldera hands off to Hunter, is brought down by the line by Blake Driver.
Yeah, just a great read there to find the runner real quick. Probably the best run coverage that Whiteland has, with a loss of what looks to be 4 or 5 yards. That's something big for Whiteland to, get their defense going, as they've had a slow start to this game.
So the Falcons taking a lot of time between plays, 10 seconds on the play clock as they break the huddle. Play action, Caldera throws it up, intended for Hunter, and he catches it inside the 5. And it looked like Andrew Kalibo kind of just mistimed the jump in coverage.
Yeah, you saw Andrew Kalibo had a great read on that pass, but he either jumped too fast or tripped, couldn't really tell. But, you know, that allowed Hunter to get into the 5 and, you know, give Perry a chance at an early touchdown.
So now coming in a quarterback, giving Ivan Caldera a breather, it's going to be Zach Huckabee, the junior. And he'll come out in the shotgun formation. And it looks like we have delay of game on the Falcons. We saw them taking so much time in between those plays, it was going to happen eventually.
Yeah, and obviously you see them taking a lot of time between the plays. You know, the delay of game was just coming for them at that point. You know, you just got to break that huddle quick. You know, you got to know what play you're going to run, and you just got to – you can't have that many – you can't have a delay of game, especially when you're on the 3-yard line.
And tailback Andy Warren. Huckabee brings Hunter in motion. And he'll take it up the gut himself. He'll be brought down, but he'll gain back the penalty yardage as he goes within the 2-yard line.
Yeah, we saw Perry fake the sweep and go into a sneak by the quarterback. However, Whiteland read that pretty well, and they stopped him from possibly getting the touchdown.
So Perry Meridian continuing to chew the clock in this first quarter. Slightly over 5 minutes remain. They break the huddle once again. Huckabee takes a snap. He'll run power. And he'll get in for the touchdown. So Perry Meridian, in what nobody saw coming, scores on their first drive.
Yeah, that's obviously something different going from last game. They did not get many rush yards, but now here, most of their plays were primarily run plays, and they got a lot of yards on that. So that's definitely, you know, Whiteland's defense just has to be better, and they just have to figure it out faster.
And watching what they did coming into this game, they have done a complete 180 on their offensive approach, and they have just ran it down their throats, chewing the clock.
Yeah, I think all the time that they spent putting those Warriors with their feet on the blue, I mean, that just is demoralizing.
So now with the 2-point attempt, Huckabee in again. He'll run the same play, and he'll get in for the score. It's an 8-0 lead for the Falcons.
Yeah, and Whiteland definitely had a miscommunication on that play or something because, I mean, Perry ran almost the exact same play as they did on the touchdown, and Whiteland could not cover either times. So, I mean, Whiteland's defense just has to be more aware going into the rest of this game.
Yeah, and looking at that huddle right there, it does not look like a friendly huddle. They are definitely getting chewed out by their coach.
So a huge change in pace from what we've seen all season from Perry Meridian. How will the offense respond going into this second half of the first quarter?
Well, Whiteland just needs to forget about that, you know, first drive by Perry and just figure out what they're going to do on offense and figure out what they're going to do on defense. However, if they can push the offense and get as many yards as they can, get as many first downs, possibly a touchdown, you can definitely put, you know, a bit of stress on Perry's offense and Perry's defense.
Well, it'll be Victor Thane to kick off for the Falcons. Crowley and Perkins deep to return for the Warriors. and kicks it off. Crowley at the 1. And Crowley making the most of this return. Gets to the outside. And he's pushed out of bounds by Byron Hahn.
Yeah, big return from Crowley coming out of that Perry touchdown. You know, as many yards as you can get can lead to, you know, better feelings about this offense. And Whiteland just needs to get their offense going because that can lead to their defense getting going and possibly stopping Perry.
So now trots out the Warriors offense led by Peyton Emberton and Jonathan Crowley. As they shift formation. Moore Smith in motion. Moore Smith takes a sweep. Cuts it upfield, gets a gain of about 8 on the play. 7 or 8.
Yeah, and that's something we see from Whiteland's offense a lot is those sweep plays. You know, you see them coming from Perkins, you see them coming from Moore Smith, you see them coming from anybody, but what Whiteland needs to do is to get everybody touches to get them going and, you know, definitely give more opportunities for this Whiteland offense.
Denham under center. Perkins in motion this time. And it's up the gut to Emberton, but he is stuffed. Oh, no, he's breaking tackles. Fights for the first down. Peyton Emberton just doing his magic.
Yeah, you saw that fake sweep going to the dive by Emberton. He broke a tackle and he got a first down. I think he would have got a first down without the broken tackle, but that just led the Warriors a little bit farther downfield, you know, possibly get into better range for, you know, what this offense wants to run.
Go ahead.
Almost like Moses, he was able to part those tacklers out. It was truly amazing to see.
Crowley in motion. Hand off to Crowley. And he is roll tackled on the play. Be Isaac Williams, the inside linebacker. Second and 7 for the Warriors. They shift out of the single back. Denham under center. Moore Smith in motion. Dive to Emberton, and he works his way through the line for another Warriors first down.
Yeah, and you see those dives by Emberton. I feel like they're getting the more yards than those sweep plays that the Whiteland offense is running. So if they keep doing that, you know, it'll probably lead to better success on the offense. However, if you mix in a little bit of those sweeps and possibly some pass plays, which we don't see much from the Warriors, it'll definitely get them farther downfield and possibly put this Perry defense at a state of disarray.
Ten seconds on the play clock. Perkins in motion. Denham play action. Deep to Hicks, but it's picked off by Isaiah Hunter, and Perry will take possession inside their own 15.
Yeah, and you don't see many pass plays from the Warriors, but obviously that one did not go over well with them. First pass of the game, and it ended in an interception, and Warriors are struggling to start this game, I must say. Defense has been a bit weary to start, and obviously offense did decent going downfield with those run plays, but the first pass play leading to an interception does not lead for great confidence for Denham for those pass plays, and maybe necessarily give the ball more to those running backs, and, you know, it may tire them out, but, you know, what we've seen with this Whiteland team is they don't give up and they keep pushing through.
Caldera under center, hands off to Jonathan Hunter up the gut. He'll bring it out about 2 yards.
Yeah, one thing I want to note is that Perry did score their first points in the first half of the season. They have not scored inside the first half in any game this season, so maybe that's something to, you know, keep in mind. Maybe it changes their momentum, and it changes what plays they may run. It can just change anything for this Perry offense, for this Perry defense. It can definitely lead to, you know, different kinds of plays we may see, and just something to look out for.
Jonathan Hunter up the gut again this time. He's going nowhere. Lucky to get 1 yard on the play. He'll bring up 3rd and 8, pardon me. Perry once again taking their time. Now only a minute to go here in the second quarter. Here in this first quarter, pardon me. Caldera under center once again. However, a timeout called for Perry as that play clock just kept running down.
Yeah, and, you know, you see Perry chewing down the clock. You know, it's possibly good for this, bad for this Whiteland defense and offense, but, you know, that can lead to the delay of games, and that can be bad for them.
So the Warriors have started off flat, but this defensive possession, a chance to go 3 and out here, would definitely turn the tide of momentum.
Yeah, you've definitely seen their run coverage mix better together. You saw not many yards of those 2 run plays. Obviously, you saw on the first drive by Perry, you saw those run plays gaining yards for them. But Whiteland has definitely caught up their act, and they have stopped this run from, you know, gaining yards and putting pressure on this defense.
I think that's the best thing that they can do. They need to shut them out here and get some points on the board, because an 8-0 first quarter, that's just going to demoralize them even more.
So Perry breaks the huddle. Trot back out on the field. Caldera once again under center. He's going to roll out. Has Hunter wide open, but it's underthrown. That'll be 3 and out for the Falcons.
Yeah, and the first 3 and out of this game. Big for the Warriors. I mean, you only have 56 seconds left in the first quarter, but you still got the rest of the second quarter and the second half to get something going. You know, first quarters have not necessarily been part of Whiteland's strong suit on offense, definitely. But, you know, Whiteland just needs to get something going.
Now, hold on here. Falcons said forget the 3 and out. They're going to go for it. Now, here in the shotgun. We haven't seen Caldera in the shotgun. Now he'll back up to punt. However, the Warriors came after that one. Long punt. Crowley opts not to return. He'll rule out of bounds at the Warriors' 30-yard line. Chance to finally make something happen with 47.3 left in the first quarter.
Yeah, at this stage in the quarter, Whiteland just needs to get something going into the second quarter. And, you know, going into the second quarter, you saw great coverage on the run, great coverage on the pass there. So if Whiteland can keep that going while also gaining offensive momentum, you may see a change in tides for this game, but you just have to wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm sure no one expected this for a first quarter.
Denham under center in the single back. Now they shift back out of it. Crowley in motion. Hand off to Emberton, and he is met at the line of scrimmage by a horde of Falcons.
Yeah, and that's the first run by Emberton where we see him get stuffed before he can get more than 4 yards. However, Whiteland is not disturbed, and you may see them give it back to Emberton because you've seen him break those tackles and get many yards. It can get Whiteland downfield, but you also have those sweepers coming in with Crowley, Moore Smith, and possibly Perkins, who we've not seen yet. But you just have to see what the Warriors decide to do and see where they go from here.
Perry in the 3-4 stack. Denham rolls out. And Cooper's wide open. Cooper at the 50. Cooper runs over a guy, gets the first down and then some. Great catch by Cam Cooper when the offense needed it most.
Yeah, and obviously you saw that first pass play in the early the Warriors' first drive lead to an interception. And, you know, Whiteland doesn't pass a lot, so we may not expected that so early. But just a great catch and a great route ran by Cooper there to get the first down and allow the Warriors to, possibly make more of this in the second quarter and just to get this offense going.
Yeah, so the Warriors in this first quarter trailing 8-0, but finally finding some momentum. And it is a great time to remind you that this broadcast of Whiteland football is brought to you by Johnson County Axe Throwing. Located at 6001 North US 31 in Whiteland, Johnson County Axe Throwing is safe and fun for the whole family. With seasonal leagues, corporate events, and 50% off for military and their families, there's always something to love at Johnson County Axe Throwing, proud sponsor of the Whiteland Beat Sports Network. WBSN would also like to thank title supporter Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender for supporting Whiteland athletics, family owned and committed to the community. Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender. So now heading into the second quarter, Warriors driving after that 30-plus yard completion from Cam Cooper. Denham under center. Moore Smith in motion. Moore Smith stumbles. Tries to fight for extra yardage, but it'll bring up 2nd and 10.
Yeah, and you saw Moore Smith stumble on that run play there, and it led to a loss of yard. However, when he stumbled, he still was at the line of scrimmage. So, most of the times you just see players fall down to not get those loss of yards, but there he still attempted to run. And, great mentality there, but sometimes you just need to allow the defense to get you.
Crowley, the single back. Toss to Crowley to the boundary side. He'll be thrown out of bounds at the 40-yard line. That'll bring up 3rd and 7 for the Warriors.
Yeah, and the first pitch play by the Warriors today. And now they have a 3rd and 7. Possibly see the Warriors go to Peyton Emberton this time, with maybe another dive. You saw him got the first down in the first drive off the dive and a broken tackle. But, right here he's lined up on the outside, and it looks like the Warriors may.
So play action from Denham. Throws at Cam Cooper once again. Cooper fighting for those extra yards, and Cam Cooper taking over so far for the Whiteland Warriors. He's probably the most resourceful amount of offense we've seen.
Yeah, on the 2 pass plays that Cam Cooper, Khan got yards, it's been the same play by the Warriors there. And you see Perry's defense kind of blitz the Denham, and he's led Cooper right to that spot with that pass, and Cooper got a bit of yards. And, first down is obviously great as the Warriors are close to end zone right now.
Denham under center. Moore Smith in motion. And penalty for the Warriors. This will probably be false start. Oh, they're signaling encroachment from Perry. So the Warriors catch a break.
It's first penalty we've seen this game. One thing that I always talk about is to keep those penalties down, because they're obviously penalties are not good. But, you see Perry taking a long time on offense and getting a delay of game, and now you see them on defense getting a penalty. And obviously that can change how both of those sides of the ball react to the plays.
Hand off to Perkins. Perkins fighting for extra yards. And he'll bring up 2nd and short.
Yeah, and a good run by Perkins there to get inside the 10-yard line. And if I were the Warriors, to be honest, I'll probably run that same play with Cooper there that you saw them run both those times with a great yardage and just great catch by Cooper. You may see him get a touchdown here, but, with the Warriors, you obviously see a lot of run plays, but maybe not.
2nd and 4. Approaching on the goal line. Crowley in motion. Takes a sweep, and nobody will touch him. Jonathan Crowley with the 7-yard touchdown. However, there is a penalty on the play, and this one might go on the Warriors.
Yeah, and you saw Crowley with the great run there, great sweep to get through those defense. But, the penalty goes against the Warriors, not giving them that touchdown. However, they do get another opportunity, and we may see the same play. However, I would not expect it, as Perry may read it sooner because they just got beat on it.
Yeah, and this is the second time we've seen Jonathan Crowley get one of his touchdowns recalled because of a penalty.
So it's 2nd and 9 for the Warriors. From the 13-yard line. Warriors break the huddle. Crowley in motion. They'll hand it off to Crowley once again. Crowley cuts it up and fights for the end zone. He gets the score. Jonathan Crowley picking up right where he left off.
Whiteland ran the exact same play there with Crowley on the sweep, and they beat Perry's defense this time again. And obviously Perry did not read that as well. They didn't read it well last time, but that may be something Whiteland goes to more often now that they have seen them get 2 touchdowns, 1 recalled obviously, but 2 touchdowns on that same play. They may see them go for it again just to get yardage if they're farther back in Perry's territory.
So Perry went for 2 in the first quarter. David Mathis slips on the extra point. And that'll be his first missed extra point of the year.
Yeah, that's obviously not something we see from David Mathis. However, slipping is just something that happens. Can't do anything about it. But Whiteland needs to come out here on offense next time and, get something going. And, David Mathis needs to get his footing better next time and just need to make that extra point.
So the Warriors will kick off. And now the Warriors trailing by 2 after that touchdown.
And obviously you saw a great run by Crowley with the touchdown that, may provide momentum not only for the offense but for the defense. But what I want to see here from Whiteland's defense after this kickoff is to have better run coverage on Perry's runners. You may see them go towards more passes, as you saw on that third down, on the last 3rd and out. However, Whiteland still needs to have great run coverage to go alongside that pass coverage.
So David Mathis to kick off for the Warriors.
Sorry.
Kickoff way over the head of Needham. And that'll be David Mathis' first touchback of the year.
Yeah, and that's not something we see from David Mathis. You didn't see an extra point this year, and obviously his first touchback. So that may be something to look forward. Maybe there's just, like timing issues on the kick. But it may not be anything, but it's definitely something to look at because of how often he doesn't do those things.
Caldera under center once again. Perry coming out in the I form. Play action. They dump it off and it's picked off by Zeke Ramey. Zeke Ramey with a one-handed interception. They tried to dump it off. So I believe that was Jalen Young in the flat right there, lined up at the fullback position, but it was thrown way behind him, and Zeke Ramey just reaching out with that one hand, snatched it away.
Yeah, just a great blitz by Brady Stanifer there. If I were Perry's quarterback, I would have threw it out of bounds and not throw it to possibly somewhere that, there's a defender there. Because obviously with those, dump passes, they're easier to intercept. And obviously you saw Zeke Ramey going to the other side, but he reached out his hand to get barely just a grasp on it, and he changes momentum to catch it. And that's big for the Warriors because now they're in the same territory that they got most of their yards at and the touchdown.
And now the Warriors will start their 3rd drive of the game just a yard away from the red zone. Only 7 seconds on the play clock, though. Got to hurry. Toss to Emberton. On the outside, Emberton makes a man miss. Emberton gets the edge, and Emberton is brought down at the 5-yard line for a Warriors first down.
Yeah, a great run there by Emberton, but I got to give props to number 33, Devin Armstrong, with a great block to allow Peyton Emberton to get a couple more yards, and now they're 5 yards away from another touchdown. Just more momentum coming into the second quarter, and, coming out of that first quarter, Whiteland was down 8-0. That wasn't something you see much from the Whiteland defense, allowing a 2-point conversion on the touchdown, but Whiteland has definitely gained some momentum in the second quarter.
Toss to Emberton once again. He'll get the outside, and he will go in untouched. Touchdown Warriors, Peyton Emberton with the 6-yard scamper.
Yeah, 2 plays this drive for the Warriors after the interception. Same exact play both times, and they got, yardage on one and a touchdown on the other. And, that's something we've seen from Whiteland. They've been going to the same play more than once. Even if the play hasn't given them the most yards, they've been going to that play to kind of exploit this Perry defense and to gain yards and to just push the momentum against this Perry defense.
Now the Warriors have the lead, but they want to get more comfortable, making it even 14, so they will opt to go for 2 here after the slip and slide from David Mathis on the extra point. Crowley in motion. They roll out, and Devin Armstrong wide open in the flats, stretches for the pylon, and he'll get the touchdown. The 2-point conversion, pardon me. What a play by Devin Armstrong. Bobbled the pass, and then the last-second effort to reach out for the pylon, get those 2 points on the board for the Warriors.
Yeah, Devin Armstrong ran the same play that Cameron Cooper ran for when he got his yards. And you see with the replay here, he bobbled the catch, almost got tackled out of bounds, but he just reached out for that pylon at the last second to let Whiteland get that 2-point conversion.
And that's really just thinking on your feet right there. That's, that is one-to-one match awareness. That's what we talk about in wrestling. That's what we call it. But it's just being aware of your surroundings and knowing where you need to be.
Just crazy concentration right there from Devin Armstrong. David Mathis to kick off for the Warriors once more. Deep to return, it's Isaiah Needham and Byron Hahn. The kick is off. Needham able to field this one as on 3. Brings it out quickly. And brought down. What a tackle from Cam Cooper. However, a penalty on the play. Cam Cooper laying the boom. However, it might have been unnecessary.
Yeah, and Cam Cooper just coming out this game and getting some crazy plays on the offensive end and the defensive end. And now with a flag, looks to be on possibly Perry. Don't know what happened, but,
that'll be a hold on Perry Meridian. But look at Cam Cooper right here. Fills the gap perfectly and lays him out. Cam Cooper approached this season some big shoes to fill, filling Max Sullivan's role from last year at tight end, who went on is now doing things in his freshman year at Ball State, playing football for them. And Cam Cooper just filling those shoes, and this could be a breakout game for him. Caldera hands off to Hunter. And Jakari Oliver had him wrapped up. Zeke Ramey with the finish. The ball came loose. And that'll bring up second down.
Yeah, and a great read by Jakari Oliver there to, read that run easily. And it looked like Zeke Ramey maybe came in there and allowed that fumble. But Perry did recover, and now they get a chance at a second down.
Caldera jogs back out to the huddle. They break the huddle. Now only 10 seconds on the play clock. Falcons got to hurry here. Caldera rolls out. Under pressure. He's going to throw it away. Hunter caught it, but he was way out of bounds. 3rd and long for the Falcons.
Yeah, and that's something we've seen with Whiteland's defense on these last 2 pass plays for Perry when one ended in an interception and now one ended in an incompletion. But you see Brady Standiford coming in for that blitz. He almost had Caldera for the safety. However, Caldera got rid of the ball. Did get a catch, but it was out of bounds for Perry. However, Whiteland's defense has definitely picked up some momentum after that, slow first quarter.
Yeah, and that slow first quarter where Perry Meridian, frankly, just did a complete 180 from their offensive style as they take a timeout right here. And, obviously that caught the Warriors off guard.
Yeah, the Warriors in the first quarter definitely weren't expecting what Perry came out with. Perry is primarily a passing team. However, Perry got most of their yards on that run play. And Whiteland was definitely not expecting that. However, after that slow first quarter, Whiteland has definitely picked up the pace on reading if it's going to be a pass coverage or a run coverage by the defense. And Whiteland has definitely been picking up on that because they got a tackle for loss here. And, Whiteland just, needs that momentum, not only for the defense but for the offense, because the offense can, take that momentum from the defense and apply it to what formation they're going to run and, possibly get yards and get downfield.
Well, Perry jogs back out onto the field. 3rd and 13. Here in the second quarter. Caldera under center. Play action. He's going to chuck it deep up to Hunter, guarded by Perkins. And they're going to get Perkins for a PI. The ball was way underthrown. But the refs are saying Perkins was keeping Hunter from getting to it.
Yeah, and, Warriors have gotten a couple penalties early in this game. And on that short throw, definitely you don't want to pass interference there because now Perry, can get the first down and possibly, move from it and take advantage of the Whiteland mishap.
So with the 15-yard penalty, it will be a first down. It's just a bad break for the Warriors defense right there. It looked like they were going to have another 3 and out.
Yeah, and the Warriors should just leave it behind them because it's just a mishap. And the Warriors should just keep that momentum that they've been coming out with. Great read by Perkins on the play, but just got a little pushy on Perry's receiver, and, they got the first down.
So up the middle, that's Andy Warren. And down on the field, that's Isaiah Hunter. The Falcons fans do not want to see that.
Yeah, Hunter's just been great for this Perry offense this game. Obviously, you never want to see a player go down, especially one who's possibly been your best player this game so far. But, you just gotta hope that possibly it's not too serious.
So both teams will take a break. We would like to remind you that this broadcast of Whiteland football is brought to you by Johnson County Axe Throwing. Located at 6001 North US 31 in Whiteland, Johnson County Axe Throwing is safe and fun for the whole family. With seasonal leagues, corporate events, and 50% off for military and their families, there's always something to love at Johnson County Axe Throwing, proud sponsor of the Whiteland Bee Sports Network. WBSN would also like to thank Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender for being a title supporter of Whiteland Athletics. Family owned and committed to the community, Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender. So Hunter got up under his own power. Great sign for Falcons fans. However, his shoes will be hard to fill for these next few plays. As I hand it off to Warren. Gets a gain of 2 or 3. However, way short, and he'll bring up 3rd and long.
Yeah, and another 3rd and long for Perry here. What Whiteland has to take note of is if a pass play happens here, you got to stay wary of a possible pass interference because obviously last time, 3rd and 13, pass interference, they got the first down. You don't want them to get another first down here, and you just want the ball back because, Perry likes running down the clock, and any offensive possessions that you can get is definitely vital for the Warriors right here as they're only up by 6.
Caldera under center. Play action. under pressure, fires deep to Hunter, and it's broken up by Malik Perkins, who made sure to get his head around that time. Almost came down with an interception. That'll bring up 4th and long for the Falcons.
Yeah, just a great read by Perkins there. Fortunately, couldn't get the interception. He had a hold of it, but he just couldn't come down with it. And, it's not necessarily a problem for the Warriors because they still got Perry on the 4th down. But, you want to see an interception right there with how well he read it, because not only does it get you closer down the field, but, it can provide a momentum.
Caldera shotgun. It's going to be a quick pooch punt. No one back to return for the Warriors, and this one gets a really good Falcons bounce. It'll be inside the 20-yard line for the Warriors, where they will start their next drive.
Yeah, before that play, I saw the Whiteland coaches take Jonathan Crowley off the field as he was down back. Now they're at the 18. With Crowley who was back there, you may have been outside the 20. Not necessarily the worst for the Warriors, but you when there's a punt inside the 20, it can definitely the Warriors just need to, make up some yards with this offense here.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. The Warriors need all the momentum they can get right now.
We're starting the drive on their own 19-yard line. They motion out of the single back once more. They bring Crowley in motion. And Denham's going to roll out. Denham, low pass intended for Cooper once again.
Yeah, and you see the Warriors passing the ball more than they usually do. About the same person every time. Cam Cooper right there. Just a low pass from Denham. Second and 10 now. If he would have caught that, it would have been probably first down. Not necessarily something to keep your mind down, but just got to make a better play next time.
And that's the second time today that Fisher has passed on first down. The first time was an interception, and I believe he probably thought it was going to be a tendency breaker, but the Falcons are catching on pretty easily. Perkins in motion. Cuts it up. Sheds off a couple tacklers. And he's brought down after a gain of 6.
Obviously Whiteland going with a couple pass plays. Now they go with a run from Perkins. Got them a bit of yards, but now Whiteland has to take advantage of what they've been doing and figure out if they want to pass or if they want to run on this 3rd down. If I were Perry, I would just say line a couple of defensive backs, farther down the field and line your linebackers closer to the quarterback just in case for a run, but you just need to be weary just in case it's a pass or a run.
3rd and 5 for the Warriors. And they got Perry to jump. They'll get the automatic first down.
Yeah, that's something that's always fun to see in football is the quarterbacks trying to get the defensive linemen to jump and get that false start for the automatic first down. Sometimes it means you don't necessarily know a play you're going to run, but for the Warriors there, I bet they were just thinking, we want to get a false start just for that automatic first down.
Number 58, Ethan Burton, the guilty party on there. Warriors back in the huddle. They break it with 16 on the play clock. First and 10. Denham under center. Moore Smith in motion. And it looks like they'll negate the offsides penalty with a false start.
Yeah, you just saw a false start penalty on Perry, and now you see a false start on Whiteland. It just looks like they not only made the defensive jump on the early play, but they made their own O-line jump, and now Whiteland moves farther back, but they still got a first down, still got 3 attempts, maybe 4 to get another first down to get farther down the field, maybe for a field goal or for a touchdown, but anything helps for this Whiteland offense.
They bring the huddle once more. Toss to Emberton, and he is brought down right at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, and you've seen that pitch play to Emberton a couple of times here. You know, he's got to gain the yards on the other ones, but this time he gets stuffed at the line of scrimmage. So now you got to be wondering, do you want to go to the pass that we've seen be completed a bit for the Warriors, which they don't really ever do under Coach Darren Fisher, or do you want to go with the run, which you know is probably the safer option as the Whiteland runners can definitely get downfield and break a couple tackles.
Denham under center. Perkins in motion, and it looks like they're going to get another false start this time on the Warriors.
You know, on the false starts against the Warriors and Perry, on the other ones, you definitely see a jump in that. But this time I didn't necessarily see one, so obviously the ref saw something that constitutes as a false start, but, you know, moving Warriors back, it's not the greatest sign.
Yeah, we've had 3 plays here where it's just moving back and forth. We've not even seen the ball get snapped.
So the Warriors at their own 20, down in distance at the 39. 2nd and 19. Perkins in motion. Denham drops back to pass. Has no one open. He'll run. Gets a gain of about 7 on the play. However, that'll still be 3rd and 12.
You know, not necessarily a bad read by Kevin Denham there. You know, didn't have any open receivers. You know, get a little bit down the field for the 3rd down. Don't want to pass it out of bounds there because you would stay at 3rd and 19. You get a bit closer to 1st down, but it's still 3rd and long, so the Warriors definitely have to figure out something right here to get that 1st down.
Yeah, Perry fans are definitely letting the Warriors know about that. I don't think anyone expected Perry to come out here and play as good as they have. But, man, it just brings back the point you can never overlook a team.
And it's a reverse to Moore Smith. Moore Smith has room to run. Moore Smith will not quite get the 1st down. After the impressive 11-yard run, however, it'll be 4th and short for the Warriors, and Fisher will have a decision to make.
You know, if I were the Warriors right here, up 6, I would not go for it on this 4th down as you're still in, you know, possibly good territory for this Perry offense. But if you go for the punt, it's a much safer bet with only 3 minutes left in this quarter going into the half. You know, Whiteland retains the ball in the 2nd half. So maybe you would punt, but, you know, we could see it go either way for the Warriors here.
Perkins in motion. And the Warriors call timeout as the play clock was running down. So there are some options for this 4th down play. You could either punt it. They still have time to do so. Or you could try and draw them off sides like you did so before.
Yeah, and I think that's what Whiteland was actually going for here, was trying to draw a false start penalty on Perry. They didn't get it, so they called a timeout. Maybe coming out of this timeout, we'll see a punt by Dalton Hughes. But, you know, just Whiteland has, you know, got two penalties that push them back to 2nd and 19 and then 3rd and 12. And then now you got Nyrius Moore-Smith with a good run, 4th and 2. So you may see them go for that 4th down. However, if they don't get it, it'd be lost in downs, and Perry would be in great territory.
Yeah, as we were talking about earlier, personally, I would vote to try and run that ball. And that might be very short-sighted of me, but I have faith in these guys. They can get that ball down. They can get this 1st down, overcome those penalties, and be able to turn this into a great play.
So the offense trots back out, 4th and 2. And now Perry's going to call a timeout of their own.
Just so many timeouts here on this 4th down. You know, obviously they're trying to figure out what to do because this Whiteland offense going with a 4th down here is definitely different than what we've seen. But, you know, if you get that 4th down conversion to get a 1st down, it definitely adds a bit of confidence to this Whiteland offense. Because you don't see many 4th down conversions. You don't see many people going for the 4th downs. They go with a safer option to punt. But that definitely allows Whiteland to think more of that their offense is doing something that helps their defense and the momentum of the game.
And Whiteland not shy to fourth down conversions. If you remember the Lawrence North game, they went for it on 4th and 7, threw a hitch to Gunnar Hicks, and that really changed the tides of momentum in that game. They ended up scoring on that drive. Who knows what they can do if they convert one here.
Yeah, and you said about that hitch with Gunnar Hicks on 4th and 7, 4th and 2 here. I wouldn't undermine the possibility of a hitch play to Cam Cooper. Tight end we've seen get a couple yards on pass play that we don't see much with the Warriors, but possibly we see that with him. You get a first down because only 4th and 2, so you only need 2 yards, and maybe we'll see that here.
4th and 2, a pivotal moment in this first half. Perkins in motion, and Emberton up the gut, breaks free. Emberton, the 40, the 30. Needham giving chase. Emberton cuts back after a block from Stanford. Emberton is going to score on 4th and 2.
Yeah, and going on 4th down in their own territory is big for the Warriors because Emberton broke a tackle to get through to the end zone. Just a big play for the Warriors right here going into the second half. Whiteland definitely has got something going after that slow first quarter.
And the O-line's goal on that play was to really make a pile. Emberton just sidestepped around it and took off down the sideline. Warriors call a timeout, and we will await the extra point attempt, but what kind of momentum does that cause?
I mean, it just shifts the confidence in this Warriors team. Going on it for 4th and down, just getting that first down can feel good. But getting a first down and then going for a touchdown after a broken tackle? I mean, that just changes, though, the mindset of your offense and your defense. As you see a replay right here, you see him just go through that defense, break free, and run out, and you just see him in a great block there just to allow Emberton to get through.
It will go down as a 63-yard touchdown for Peyton Emberton. And Brady Stanford, of course, coming in clutch with that block right there as Needham was giving some really good chase.
Yeah, and you like you said, Needham giving great chase. If Brady Stanford weren't there, I would say that Whiteland would be on the 3-yard line here. It's still it would still be good for Warriors because 3 yards is something you could get behind. But a touchdown, take that too.
So the Warriors now giving Perry a taste of their own medicine, going for 2 here. Crowley in motion on the perimeter. Crowley breaks a tackle, but he is stuffed behind the line of scrimmage. It'll be 20-8 for the Warriors.
Yeah, and you see two-point conversions. I mean, kind of expected the last one when they scored their second touchdown just to be up by a touchdown on Perry. But, after that Mathis slip on the extra point, maybe Whiteland is not feeling safe going with that extra point, and they want to go for those 2-point conversions, which they possibly feel better with on the run game.
And something to note, me and Mathis were talking before the game today during school, and he said that his knee in the Perry Meridian soccer game last night was injured. So maybe that could be a contributor to the extra point. We see him kicking the kickoffs just fine, but maybe that extra point, maybe something in his mind isn't right.
Yeah, maybe his mindset changed, trying to get footing. He's maybe scared to, slip, and obviously, slipping is not great because, with a kicker or with anybody, torn ACLs happen on slips, and obviously torn ACLs are really not the best injury. And obviously no injury is great, but you definitely want to play it safe, and that's what Whiteland has done with these 2-point conversions.
Mathis squibs it. Be returned by the up man, Huckabee. He'll be brought down at the Perry 42. Huckabee, we saw him in earlier at goal line situation. He was playing quarterback. Ran a power for a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, may I add.
Yeah, and that's something you see sometimes on goal line plays is the running backs coming in at, quarterback just to take the pass and start running. But, it's definitely something you don't see often, but when you do, it goes either way.
Hand off to Hunter, and he is stuffed at the line. Jakari Oliver making the tackle.
It's just a great read by Jakari Oliver to stop that run before Hunter could get far. And, just great read to not allow to get that tackle for loss.
And Oliver, he was quiet last week. Only one total tackle. However, he is back and ready to make a vengeance. That was Hunter in motion. Caldera with the play action. Rolling out way over Hunter's head. Moore Smith in coverage. Grandinetti close to picking that one off.
Yeah, Moore Smith almost, the ball just went over his fingertips. He slipped before he got back up. He could have had the interception, but obviously Grandinetti was behind him. It was a high pass, but, it's fine because now the Perry is on a third down.
Yeah, we saw Mason Darlington, again, putting pressure on that quarterback. I think that's exactly what the Warriors have to do here. The more pressure we put on him, the more slip-ups we're going to see.
3rd and 12. Perry still under center. Play action. Deep pass. And close to picking that off was Caden Davidson. So 2 deep shots in a row. It'll bring up 4th and very long for the Falcons.
Yeah, and something to take note of is the Whiteland has got this 3 and out pretty quickly as there's still 1:30 left on the clock going in the second half. There's about 2 minutes left at the start of this drive. So possibly Whiteland could get maybe another touchdown or a field goal, although, David Mathis has not kicked an extra point since he slipped, so maybe not a field goal, but it definitely could see Whiteland go for possibly, more points.
4th and 12. Caldera in the shotgun. Now he'll back up to punt. This one gets another great Perry roll. Crowley, late decision to return it, makes a move on Hahn. Still going down the sideline. He'll bring it out to the Warriors 43. There is a flag, however, and we'd be looking at a potential block in the back.
Yeah, depending on what the flag says, it was still a great return by Crowley there to get a couple yards on what was not the greatest kick for him to return, but he still got a good return to allow Whiteland to get closer, even though there's a penalty on the play.
Yeah, that'll be a holding on the offense or on the returning team. That'll back them up to the 31-yard line. 26-yard line.
I mean, and with penalties, man, Whiteland's got to clean up the game here. Those penalties have cost us more yards than anything else.
Denham under center. He's going to roll out once again. He's going to find Cooper once again. Cooper past midfield. Cooper at the 40. Forced out of bounds by Hahn.
It's just another great catch by Cooper. His 3rd one of the day. You saw is his most yards that he's gotten so far. And Whiteland is just eating Perry up on that same play that they've been running since the start of the second quarter.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is truly going to be a breakout game for Cameron Cooper, in my opinion.
So 1:05 on the clock. Cooper did get out of bounds, so it stops the clock. Denham rolling out once again. This time he finds Hicks. Ball's loose. And it looks like Perry took over. However, it could possibly be an incomplete pass. They're going to stop the clock. And the rest will confer.
Yeah, and that's, if it does go down as a fumble, it's a second turnover on a pass for the Warriors. You don't see them pass very often, but they have gotten a lot of yards on it. But those 2 turnovers is definitely not something to look light at.
So it's a win-win for the Warriors. They'll say it's a fumble, but it went out of bounds.
So Whiteland, does retain the possession. Still good catch by Gunnar Hicks when he got tackled. He had fumbled it, go out of bounds. So
and they get the yardage, too.
They still get the yardage, yeah. So Whiteland does take it back inside the 20 in the red zone to try and get another touchdown within 55 seconds to, possibly put some more pressure on Perry.
Get him under center. Warriors now in the red zone after that catch from Hicks. And we'll roll out. He'll throw deep. He has Perkins in the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Warriors.
Warriors are a run-first team, but right here we're seeing a lot of passing plays, and it's looking good. So, it's definitely something to, see for the Warriors, but obviously with, 49 seconds left, it's a big touchdown as Whiteland does go up by 18 now.
Yeah, I think the 48.9 seconds left is really contributing to the amount of passing in that last drive. Every play was a pass play there. Definitely a 2-minute drill that Fisher really wanted to get done before the end of the season as they go for 2 once again. This time a toss to Emberton, and he is dragged down, and it'll be short. So 26-8 for the Warriors with 48 seconds left in this second quarter.
And another missed 2-point conversion by the Warriors. Like you said, David Mathis, he said he may have tweaked his knee a little bit. Maybe he got more injured when he did trip. But definitely something to look out for the Warriors because they may go down on 4th and down. But now you hear the touchdown by Perkins and just a great pass to the back of the end zone by Kevin Denham.
Deep to return for Perry on this kickoff. It'll be Hunter and Hahn once again. And the kickoff for the Warriors, it'll be David Mathis. Great scenery here on this Friday night. A lot of fans showing out for homecoming.
Yeah, and not much can top the student section and the fans against Franklin, but right now we're seeing the fans get into it tonight on homecoming, and you're seeing the Warriors, take an 18-point lead.
Returnable kick from Hunter. He'll sprint out, try to reverse field, and he'll be brought down by Dotson. However, it looks like that would be a horse collar tackle. So Dotson, great effort to try and make that tackle. However, did it in an illegal way.
Yeah, obviously when you tackle, he was still behind, not necessarily, the worst tackle, but obviously you want to tackle it in a legal way. But, a great read by Dotson, just the wrong way to go at it.
So we saw the Warriors 2-minute drill. Now it's Perry's turn to offer a rebuttal here with 43 seconds left. It will still be Caldera under center. And it's a run up the gut for Jonathan Hunter. Hunter breaking loose. Great tackle by Malik Perkins making the stop there around midfield.
Yeah, now with 36 seconds left, you may see more pass plays by Perry as it is a running clock. But just a great run there by Hunter, and Whiteland defense could not stop him before they got a first down.
Hunter up the gut again. This time brought down by Peyton Dotson.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a different side of Perry here. Now rushing right back to get to the ball.
Yeah, and some of the no Perry has no touchdown, so they're going to have to spike it right here to stop the clock.
Now they spike it, however, there is a penalty. And that might be a legal substitution on the Warriors.
Yeah, and
looked like Coach Preston, the defensive coordinator, was opting for a timeout there. However, we couldn't get it soon enough.
Yeah, and it's not good for the Warriors because it moves Perry up, and now they're closer. Possibly, if they throw it, they can get out of bounds and go for the field goal. With 12 seconds left, they have to do it quick, though.
Now Perry, no timeouts left, and it is a running clock here. Play action. They'll throw an out to Hunter. It's jumped by Moore Smith. Moore Smith down the near sideline. Moore Smith shoved out of bounds with no time left on the clock. However, Moore Smith, if he would have taken that back, the crowd would have gone erupt.
I mean, after the first quarter, Whiteland has definitely taken initiative, and they've got some big plays here. The crowd definitely would have erupted, as you saw with that big run by Emberton. It definitely would have got the crowd going into the second half.
Well, so that brings up halftime. Warriors 26, Perry Meridian 8. And what are your guys' takeaways from this first half?
Well, Whiteland certainly is passing it more than we really see them do. You know, they're really a run-first team under Coach Darren Fisher. However, when they do pass, they are getting a lot of yards, and they're getting great reads by the route runners. And obviously you see Cam Cooper with, 3 catches, great total yardage. Will we see that in the second half? Possibly. Will we see it to the same extent? Maybe not. Maybe, we'll see it run less, trying to get the running backs a bit more yards. You're trying to get that momentum too, because if you get momentum on the pass, momentum on the rush, you get something going. So Whiteland just wants to figure out what they're going to do. Maybe they run, maybe they pass, but either way, Whiteland has been getting yards and getting touchdowns.
Now, as you mentioned, they're not a pass-first team. Denham only has 33 attempts so far going into this game. But he did go 5 for 6 last week. Maybe something they want to build on.
Yeah, and especially with that first half, with the first half of the game gone, that first quarter, man, Whiteland was looking sluggish. It was definitely a slow start. You'd be incredibly wrong to say that they did not underestimate Perry here, and especially the variety that Perry was able to pull here. I mean, and to then see Whiteland switch over to being a pass-first team. I think Perry and them sort of traded places in that respect, with Perry running the ball so many times and then Whiteland now passing the ball.
Yeah, and Perry's star quarterback, Alan Zupon, not playing in this game, possibly injured. He only had 2 pass attempts against Plainfield before Caldera took over and went 2 for 13, and he could probably have a remake of that night tonight, struggling there in that second quarter.
Yeah, Caldera definitely did pass a bit more in the second quarter than we saw in the first quarter. The passes weren't necessarily the worst passes that, we've seen, but not the greatest either. You saw Nyrius Moore-Smith with the interception, and you see many incompletions, 1 out of bounds, 1 down on the field. That's something that Caldera has to take note of, is he needs better, not necessarily Caldera, but the route runners on the receivers and the running backs need to just run the route better and get open off that Whiteland defense.
And to be fair, we saw him go for those short passes here under pressure from Mason Darlington. If I had that guy running at me, I would be scared too. So I can't really blame him there. But, yeah, he's definitely got to clean up here. With that interception, he throws a couple more of those. I think that this game will be one for the books for Whiteland.
Great time to remind you this broadcast of Whiteland football is brought to you by Johnson County Axe Throwing, located at 6001 North US 31 in Whiteland. Johnson County Axe Throwing is safe and fun for the whole family. With seasonal leagues, corporate events, and 50% off for military and their families, there's always something to love at Johnson County Axe Throwing, proud sponsor of the Whiteland Bee Sports Network. WBSN would also like to thank Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender for being a title supporter of Whiteland Athletics. Family owned and committed to the community, Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender. With that, we will take a break for the half. You are watching Whiteland football on the Whiteland Bee Sports Network.
You're going to want to look for weeds, sunken structures, down trees, stuff like that. And let that breeze tell you where you want to go. Windy days like this, those bait fish will come swimming closer to shore. They'll bring the big boys with them, those bass and those pike. And they like cooler temperatures, so you ain't likely to have much luck.
You're good at giving fishing advice. We're good at your insurance. Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance and stop knocking on wood.
Hi, I'm Matt Wolford, president of the IHSAA Foundation, and we need your help. We need your help so the youth of our community can develop advanced leadership skills. We need your help giving high school administrators and coaches the instruction and insight they need to be better role models and teachers. To learn more or to make a tax-deductible contribution, go to IHSAAfoundation.org. You'll not only be contributing to the foundation of the IHSAA, you'll be contributing to the foundation of our community.
Becoming a licensed sports official is a great way to make a positive difference in the community and support the over 160,000 Indiana student athletes that participate across 22 IHSAA sports. Sports officiating allows you to stay connected to the game, become a role model for our young student athletes, earn extra money, and support the patrons and communities of our IHSAA member schools. To learn more about becoming a licensed IHSAA official, log on to ihsaa.org/officials today.
13,000 feet has a way of testing a man's soul. After all, you were never meant to take on such an endeavor. That long drop is what separates human from superhuman. And here we are, right here, right now.
You're good at motivation, we're good at your insurance. Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance and stop knocking on wood.
Welcome back to James Slater Field as we will recap that first half of action. So first off, Perry came out the gate. They returned the opening kickoff, and they just went running right up the gut. Kind of a change of identity that kind of caught Whiteland off guard. Whiteland, however, on the next drive, they did go 3 and out, but then they held Perry to a 3 and out. And this happened. Crowley around the outside. Great block by Devin Armstrong, and he just powered his way through for the touchdown. They would end up going for 2. They did not succeed. Then, following right after that, on the first play of Perry's next drive, one-handed interception by Zeke Ramey, capped off by a Peyton Emberton touchdown, and the Warriors didn't stop there. They had a touchdown from Peyton Emberton once again with a 64-yard score, and this one is one to watch. Peyton Emberton looked to run straight up the gut, but bounced it outside once all of Perry crowded around. Needham gave chase, but this clutch block by Brady Stanifer right here allowed Emberton to cut back and score 63 yards out. And, of course, they had that pass in the back of the end zone to Malik Perkins. This was during the 2-minute drill. And Kevin Denham put this one on a laser with a nice sprint out there. And then finding Perkins in the back of the end zone, he's easy to miss in coverage, being only 5'7". But that was the recap. Those last 2 touchdowns, they missed a 2-point conversion. And that's how you have this 26-8 score right here.
Yeah, and they missed those 2-point conversions. Obviously, you saw David Mathis slip on the extra point on the first touchdown by the Warriors. So that's something to keep note of as the Warriors go deeper in this game, is they may go for those 2-point conversions more, with Mathis probably being hurt to where he can't do the extra points but can still do the kickoffs. So the Warriors need to learn how to accomplish the extra points going into the second half, because if they don't and Perry does start getting touchdowns and start getting those 2-point conversions, then maybe the tides can turn. But the Warriors with such a big lead and such a great momentum on offense and defense may not necessarily see that as the Warriors versus the Falcons go deeper into this game.
Yeah, we were all surprised by that slow start from Whiteland, and Perry really came out here and showed us their guns here. With switching up their plays, the variety that they were able to pull out here, I don't think the Whiteland was expecting that. And I think that affected how we went forward in scoring with offense. I think that we switched from more passing because in response to Perry's offense.
Now, Perry's offense did definitely catch them off guard, but afterwards they have been stagnant. It looks like, Whiteland's defense sorted out whatever they needed to sort out. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's a second-half shutout.
Yeah, and you saw Zeke Ramey with that one-handed interception, possibly the turning point of this game, in my opinion, because just a great interception on the dump play. But, that definitely changed the momentum towards Whiteland's favor. And now going into the second half, we can see, maybe more interceptions, maybe more 3-and-outs. But, you never know what you're going to see with either of these teams. Anything can happen.
And the more they force pressure on Ivan Caldera, the more those interceptions will come. Already 2 in this game with that Moore Smith one late to lead into the halftime break. With that, we will take a halftime break. Football when you return on the Whiteland Bee Sports Network.
I remember 2009, fun fact.
I was 3.
Welcome back to James Slater Field, home of the Warriors. Warriors lead 26-8 going into the second half. So in that first half, of course, Warriors dominant in the second quarter. And now both teams warming up out the gate. Something you saw, Michael, during the halftime warm-ups that you'd like to note?
Well, we saw one extra point attempt from David Mathis, which he slipped and missed. But now during halftime, we saw him coming out for the field goals, and he's been kicking them, and he's been making them. So maybe that's something to know going into this game, the rest of the game, because maybe Whiteland goes for less 2-point conversions and maybe goes for more field goals if it's necessary. So maybe Warriors switch things up on this Perry defense, trying to create some diversion in what they've been doing.
Yeah, and the Warriors, we saw late in that second quarter getting a little pass happy, something you rarely see from them. And Denham, I mentioned before, only 33 attempts going into this game, probably a third of that in this game that he's matched up.
Yeah, Kevin Denham's definitely been passing it more, which obviously, like you said, not much that we do very often. But the one thing to note on those passes is that the receivers are reading them well. They're going to where the ball is, and they're figuring out where the defenders are. And, obviously something to note is that going into this game, Perry has not done well against those passes, allowing Whiteland to get plenty of first downs. But the rushing game has also been good. So that's where Whiteland kind of chooses. Are they going to go for the run, or are they going to go for the pass? So Whiteland doesn't necessarily have to choose which one to go for, but they definitely have to choose one where they want to go at it differently than they do.
So Whiteland won the toss, deferred to the second half. Second time we've seen that in just as many weeks. And they will return this opening kickoff, leading by 18 points.
Yeah, leading by 18, scored all 26 in the second quarter. Whiteland is actually getting outscored 7-10 before this game, so now it's 7-18. So that's definitely something that is different from, what we've seen in the second, third, and fourth is Whiteland has been outscoring, all the other teams. So Whiteland in the next games and going into the postseason is definitely going to have to get started in the first quarter. But now looking at this game, the Whiteland has to get started in the third quarter because this is where Perry has been doing stuff this season.
So we're still awaiting the kick to open the half. It'll be Victor Thane of Perry Meridian doing the duties. Victor Thane on the year, 12 kickoffs, now 13, averaging 43 yards. Has 3 touchbacks, so definitely a powerful leg to him. Malik Perkins and Jonathan Crowley deep to return for the Warriors.
And we saw Jonathan Crowley get a big return in the second quarter after, not the greatest kickoff or punt to take, but still a great return to, keep the offensive flowing as it was in the second quarter.
Thane will kick off. And this one's deep. Out the back of the end zone. Warriors will start on the 20-yard line. So the Warriors offense, as we mentioned, struggled to run at the beginning of the first quarter, but really just, especially after that Zeke Ramey interception, they finally found their stride.
Yeah, after that Zeke Ramey interception, you could just tell that Whiteland was starting to gain some confidence. You saw the student section and the fans starting to, gain some energy that also affects these Whiteland players and allowed them to take that 18-point lead. But going into the second half, the fans need to get loud, and the student section needs to get loud, and Whiteland's offense needs to get loud.
Emberton, the single back. They motion into the I form. Crowley takes a sweep. And he stopped after a gain of about 2 with forward progress. It's brought down by Andy Warren, the sophomore linebacker for Perry. Denham under center again. Less than 10 on the play clock. Perkins in motion. Armstrong runs over a guy. He'll still be short of the first down marker. It'll be 3rd and 2 for the Warriors.
And you don't see Devin Armstrong running the ball as much as the other 4 primarily running backs. However, he did get a good gain on that to make it 3rd and short here for the Warriors instead of being 3rd and long. So that's big, just to allow the Warriors to, get closer to the first down and to get further downfield.
You notice our camera shaking a little bit. That is the Perry crowd stomping their feet, trying to make some noise on this 3rd down. And that will be a false start. Looked like Peyton Shackle.
Yeah, and we've seen plenty of false starts, penalties called this game, primarily on the Warriors, actually. So that's something definitely that they need to fix, because every time they get that penalty called, they just keep moving further from that first down.
So it'll be 3rd and 9 now. Denham under center. He's going to sprint out. Sets his feet to throw, and has Gunnar Hicks down the field for the first down.
Yeah, it looked like Denham was actually going for Nyrius Moore-Smith on that pass. However, Gunnar Hicks got there faster, and he did get that completion for the first down. So that's just a great read by Gunnar Hicks to see Nyrius Moore-Smith, who was actually falling down to, pick up that ball, which led to the first down. It could have possibly been a 4th down, which would have been bad for the Warriors coming out of the halftime.
And momentum-wise, we've seen that Perry has scored most of their points in the second half. To put them back on the offensive side would just be bad.
Denham, three-step drop, intended for Stanifer. Tries to bring it in with one hand, however, can't do it. Isaiah Needham in coverage.
We're seeing plenty of pass plays today. They've been going great for the Warriors. You know, not many on the season, like I've said before. But the Warriors definitely completing a lot of passes here. You know, obviously that one was a bit off to Stanifer. However, we may see the Warriors go for another pass here, as the running game has not necessarily been a factor for them, but it's definitely got them some yardage.
And Stanifer was the intended target on that pass last game. 2 catches, one in a fumble, the other in a touchdown, 31 yards total. As they pass again, this one intended for Cooper on the back shoulder fade. However, it's incomplete, and it will bring up 3rd and 10. So now you have 2 downs where you don't necessarily need to pass it. It brings up a 3rd down where you definitely do.
Yeah, obviously you don't need to pass on those like you said, but now on a 3rd down, like you said, you do need to pass. But one thing is Cam Cooper has been doing great on the route running this game to get those passes. However, on the slant there, he looked a bit behind of Kevin Denham, who passed it, which means that, you know, we just need to have better route running going into this play and later, because you do not want Perry to get that ball early in the second half.
Devin Armstrong, the lone back. Sprint out. And he fires Perkins deep. It's batted down by Isaiah Shumway. First time we're calling his name tonight. So now 3 pass plays in a row, something you rarely see from a Fisher offense. And then Dalton Hughes will trot out to punt for the first time tonight.
Yeah, first punt for Dalton Hughes. That just is a sign of a great offensive play for the Warriors here. However, you know, they just need to gain that momentum back on the defensive end. And like he said earlier, Perry was dropping punts in the pregame, so maybe we see here as they just let it go and it drops forward.
That punt almost got blocked right there. Like a miscommunication in the shield. And they got an unfortunate Warriors bounce too, as Perry will take over at their own 29-yard line.
I think that's something we've seen a lot today, is just miscommunication and misfortune has befallen the Warriors. You know, we've seen them play, you know, we've seen what they can do when everyone's in line, but we've also seen how the team can fall apart, you know, with false starts, missed passes, fumbles, interceptions.
And it looks like there was a fumble on the play. It's recovered by the Warriors.
And, I mean, after that, you know, not necessarily the greatest punt, Warriors get it back quickly. And that is just great for the confidence of the Warriors after not necessarily the greatest drive on the offensive end. You know, 3 passes, 3 incompletions. But that fumble definitely changes the tides for this Whiteland offense.
And that fumble was recovered by, guess who? Zeke Ramey, who now has his 2nd turnover in the ballgame.
You know, like you said, Zeke Ramey with 2 turnovers. Also like to know, part of the radio and TV program here at Whiteland. And that's, I mean, you just like to see representation on this football team and throughout the school.
So the Warriors trot their offense back out after a short break. It'll be Emberton up the gut. He'll get a gain of about 4.
Yeah, when Whiteland runs the ball, we've been primarily seeing Peyton Emberton being the primary holder with those dives, but you also see him with the pitches and you see him with the sweeps. But primarily, the Whiteland has been getting most of their yards on the run when it is Emberton with the dive through the defensive line.
So it's 2nd and 7 for the Warriors. They break the huddle quickly, less than 10 seconds on the play clock, now 5. Crowley in motion. They just get the snap off. It's a handoff to Emberton. And he is just dragging defenders with him. He'll be 1 yard short of the down to make. So it is 3rd and inches for the Warriors here. Warriors break the huddle once again. Denham under center. Perkins in motion. Emberton fighting for that first down. He's going to get it and then a little more, falling forward in the pile. First and 10 for the Warriors.
Yeah, and that's 3 run plays this drive, and it's all been Peyton Emberton. Like I said, the primary holder for this offense on the run game. He's just been doing those dives. He broke a couple tackles there to get to first down, which now allows Whiteland to be near the red zone or in the red zone, just to allow Whiteland to put more pressure on this Perry off defense.
Crowley, the lone back in the backfield. Toss to Crowley. Cuts it up the middle, and Crowley will score untouched. Jonathan Crowley with his 2nd touchdown of the ball game. And the Warriors begin to pour it on. Looks like they will go for the extra point for the first time since the first half. So David Mathis, after missing his first extra point of the year, trying to make it 33-8. And it looks like Perry jumped off sides. It's good nonetheless. And a little bit of extracurricular activity after the play as well. So Fisher declines the penalty. They'll still have to retry the extra point. And straight through the uprights once again. So after having to kick it twice, only counts as 1 point, 33-8 for the Warriors with 7:13 left in the third quarter.
Yeah, that might only count for 1 point there, but I think that reinstalls the confidence in himself. You know, David Mathis, as we've talked about earlier, he had that slip in the missed kick, and now having these that extra point on the board and having 2 successful kicks, I think that reinstalls, you know, his faith in himself. I think that morally, that really helps the Warriors.
As you look at this replay right here. Crowley just cutting it up the middle. Continuing to run wild in these past 2 weeks.
Yeah, and we've seen primarily Peyton Emberton on the run plays, but when Crowley has gotten the ball, he's definitely made usage of those touches he got. Just not only a great run by Crowley, but great blocking by the offensive line to allow Crowley to get an opening to the end zone.
So David Mathis will kick off once again. It will be Hahn and Needham deep to return for the Falcons. Kick is off. Needham will return it. Needham up the middle, now spinning outwards. Still on his feet. He'll be brought down around the 29-yard line. It looks like Dalton Hughes came firing down, could have had him for a loss. No, pardon me, that was Caden Davidson that came firing down the field. Tried to trip him up, but couldn't bring him down. So the Perry offense will trot out once again. Ever since their first drive, they have been stagnant. Caldera under center. They're going to hand off. That's Warren. Hit hard, but still falls forward for a gain of 7. Andy Warren last week only held to 4 yards off 6 carries. He's a new addition to the Perry Meridian offense.
Yeah, and that's something we've seen with Perry throughout their offense tonight, is they're just improving on the mistakes they had last week against, not getting many yards, but now they've gotten plenty of yards here.
2nd and 4, screen to Hunter, and he's going to take this one all the way down to the 30-yard line, forced out of bounds by Keegan Grandinetti. So an explosive play from Isaiah Hunter, and he went down early in the first quarter, but he looks to be healthy after those yards. Caldera under center again. Perry moving with a sense of urgency now. Handoff to Warren. He's tripped up after a gain of 4.
Yeah, and Perry's starting to make moves on offense here as they were fast in the first quarter, getting the 8 points, slow in the second, but now they're pushing Whiteland's defense to, what they saw in the first quarter, and now Whiteland has to adjust to, make a stop here in the second half.
Over halfway through this third quarter. Caldera under center once again. Hands off to Warren. Warren on the zone. Gets the first down. And Andy Warren enforcing his will on the Warriors' front 7. It looks like things are getting chippy between the linemen right now as ref getting a little heated. Warren up the gut. Sheds a tackler. Finally brought down by Jakari Oliver.
And the Warriors just can't stop that run game right now. They need to adjust quickly, or Perry may get something going.
Yeah, the end zone is quickly approaching for the Falcons here. As you said, we just need to adjust here. We're seeing a lot of Mason Darlington shooting through the line. Let's see if we can see something happen here.
And Warren is stuffed by Mason Darlington. Looks like Warren's helmet came off too, and he'll have to leave the game for a play.
That's exactly what we needed to see here.
And now a big third down for Whiteland defense here. If they get a stop, it can definitely shift the momentum that Perry was gaining with their offensive drive right here with a lot of run plays, getting a lot of yards for them. Whiteland, just if they get a stop here, it can definitely provide some confidence.
So 3rd and 4, and now we have Huckabee in the gun. He's going to run power, makes a move, but he's brought down eventually by Jordan Palmer, and they'll give him the first down. 1st and goal for the Falcons. So Zuckerby back in the game. He looks like they love him in red zone situations, him and his ability to run. And it looks like that'll be a false start. No, that'll be a timeout on Perry.
Yeah, they were getting close to another delay of game. You know, Perry likes to be slow on offense, trying to figure out what kind of play they're going to run. But, you know, now got to see something going.
So as they take that break, we'd like to remind you this broadcast of Whiteland football is brought to you by Johnson County Axe Throwing. Located at 6001 North US 31 in Whiteland, Johnson County Axe Throwing is safe and fun for the whole family. With seasonal leagues, corporate events, and 50% off for our military and their families, there's always something to love at Johnson County Axe Throwing, proud sponsor of the Whiteland Bee Sports Network. The BBSN would also like to thank Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender for being a title supporter of Whiteland Athletics. Owned and committed to the community, Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender. So it's first and 10. Caldera under center. He'll roll out after the play action. And the pass is over the head of Byron Hahn.
Yeah, and you saw Payne Dotson blitzing Caldera right there. He had to get passed up, and the pass was over Hahn's hands and out of play, and he could not get the touchdown. Now second down for Perry.
That was Andrian Kalibo in coverage. We saw him last week. He was getting targeted pretty heavily, and in that first half he gave up a large play to Isaiah Hunter that really got them in scoring position that time. However, he's able to lock up. Huckabee in the gun. Quick pass to Hunter. Incomplete, guarded by Moore Smith. However, it looks like there will be a penalty going against the Warriors.
Yeah, and Huckabee, a primary running back for Perry Meridian. First pass we've seen from him. Usually we see him running the power plays and the sneaks. But here we see a pass, which definitely surprising. But, you know, maybe we'll see it later if they get into the red zone again. We could possibly also see it this drive, but we do see Caldera coming in right now.
So they get half the distance to the goal, 1st and 5. Pardon me, 2nd and 5. And we'll see Huckabee in the gun. They hand it off to Hunter. Hunter makes a man miss, cuts it upfield, and he'll get the touchdown. Nyrius Moore Smith with that final effort. However, it was too little too late to keep him out of the end zone. Would be no surprise if Perry elects to go for 2 here. And Huckabee will drop back out to the huddle. Huckabee in the gun, runs power once more, and he's in for the 2-point conversion. That'll make it 33-16. Warriors still in the lead with 2:54 left to go in the third quarter.
Yeah, and you see on both the 2-point conversions, the one in the first quarter and the one right now, Huckabee just dives in with that power play. So Whiteland needs to figure out, you know, if they're going forward on second down, they need to be able to stop him, because if they keep going for it, it could definitely, you know, change the way the Warriors play on offense, but it can also change the way that Perry's defense reacts to what the Warriors run, because it changes the type of confidence level inside both of the team's players. So if I were the Warriors right now, I would just try to break Perry's defense right here, try to break through and get a touchdown.
So Perry will trot out to kick it off. Crowley and Perkins deep to return again. Victor Thane will do the duties for the third time today. Great atmosphere for this homecoming game. As Thane will kick it off with 2:54 left to go in the third. This one deep once again. Crowley returns on the goal line. And he's brought down at the 25-yard line. Pardon me. So the Warriors trot back out, looking to extend on their lead. Toss to Slate Valentine, seeing his first carry tonight. He's stopped for a 1-yard gain. So the Warriors break the huddle again. Plenty of time on the play clock. Perkins alone back in the backfield. Denham will roll out. Nowhere to go with it. And he'll scramble for a gain of no yards.
Yeah, and you see Denham scrambling to that side a lot when he's trying to possibly come up with a pass play. The problem is he's running to his weak side as a left-hander. So he can't necessarily make the best throw, because obviously when you run to the weak side, you got to throw across your body. So right there, Denham had the realization that he wasn't going to be able to pass it, and he tried to cut through the defense, but he didn't have enough room, and he had to slide to, not fumble the ball.
And that's the second time they've kind of ran into that Perry Meridian coverage where Denham has been forced to scramble, something you rarely see from him. 3-step drop from Denham. Up to Cam Cooper, and it's picked off by Hunter. Hunter with a convoy of blockers ahead of him, and he'll take it down to the Perry 15. And Perry has all the momentum in this game right now despite their deficit.
Yeah, and you see Perry this season coming out guns blazing in the third quarter and trying to get that momentum going to the fourth, and now Whiteland has definitely not figured out how to combat that, as Perry is just gaining momentum after momentum with an interception, first a touchdown and now an interception in Whiteland's territory. And now they have a chance to, cut the lead down going into the fourth quarter.
And that's the second pick from Isaiah Hunter today, the second pick from Kevin Denham today, and that doubles Kevin Denham's season total going into this game. And it looks like Whiteland will get called for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And the ball will be spotted at the 8-yard line, 9-yard line, pardon me, first and goal for the Falcons.
I mean, when the time really counts to watch your tongue and to just be a good person, be a good sport, right now it doesn't seem any more important than right here.
Huckabee in the end zone. Pass broken up by Moore Smith, who almost came down with it. So that's the second pass attempt from Huckabee so far this evening. That one intended for Hunter in the end zone.
Yeah, not a bad read by Huckabee to find Hunter there, as deep in the end zone in the corner, not necessarily the easiest place for a defensive back to cover a man, but you saw Moore Smith get there, go up for the interception, didn't come down with it. He was out of bounds before he could, but, just a great thing to see by Moore Smith.
Huckabee on the power read once again, fighting for yardage, but the pile is not going his way. They'll track his forward progress at the 5-yard line. Now 20 seconds on the play clock, and Huckabee is just now getting the play from his coach. Something Perry has been close with so far is delay of game. Now 10 seconds on the play clock. As Perry has to go no huddle, they'll take timeout.
Yeah, Perry's just trying to cut down on that clock as much as they can. The problem is when you do that, the play clock gets low too and get called for a delay of game. But Perry has been calling timeouts to get out of it. But the thing is, they only have one timeout left, and it's the third quarter. In this close of a game, you know, if Perry gets a touchdown and 2-point conversion, it could get closer. So, I mean, only having one touchdown going to the fourth, only one timeout going to the fourth quarter is not necessarily beneficial.
Yeah, that definitely puts them at a disadvantage, especially with this style of trying to run down the clock as much as possible. I don't really see any real benefit of it besides, like, the moral, just like the emotional toll that has on you, you know, having your foot, instead of being in the green, being in the blue of your own end zone. I mean, that hurts.
So the Warriors' bend don't break philosophy is broken a couple times tonight. However, if it does so here, Perry could cut down to only a 2-score game. Huckabee in the gun again. Play action, pop pass, and it's caught for a touchdown by Jalen Young.
And like I said, Huckabee is a primary running back, but there Young got open, and Huckabee made a good pass for what you'd expect out of a running back, and, you know, come down with a touchdown.
So now what was a 17-point deficit is now only a 2-score game.
I mean, that's just crazy. You know, especially coming into this game, 1-3 with Perry Meridian, 4-0 with the Warriors. I mean, most people didn't think the Falcons stood a chance here, and they're really showing up and showing out.
So they start out in the swinging gate, and they'll motion into regular for the extra point. It's up, and it's good from Thang. It'll be a 10-point deficit for Perry late in this third quarter.
Yeah, and like you said, it was 17-point deficit, cut down to only 10 now, 2-score game. Perry has been so good in the third quarter in this season, and you see that here as they scored 15 points, and Whiteland has none. So Whiteland needs something. I've said this so much, but Whiteland needs something, you know, not only for a moment, but they just need something to get something going. The defense needs confidence. The offense needs confidence. Right now, Whiteland's confidence levels are the lowest it can be as they've allowed Perry to get back in this game. But right here, right now, Whiteland needs something.
Perry to kick off. Crowley and Perkins need to return. Thang will kick off. And this one is bombed deep into the back of the end zone. Warriors will start their drive on the 20-yard line. So now Perry having all the momentum. We'll see what the Whiteland offense can do here to kind of reap it back.
I really think they're going to focus more on their run game. You know, do what they've been doing every other game and do it well. You know, with 2 interceptions, I can't see them passing anymore.
More Smith, no Perkins in motion, pardon me. They hand off to Emberton. His forward progress will get him no gain on the play. And Perry's defense, after being thrashed in that second quarter, has really come alive here in the third, and now going into the fourth.
Whiteland has definitely just lost all their momentum that they've had. Such a great second quarter. It's just all gone to to Perry's offense in the third.
So Whiteland still with a 10-point lead, with 12 minutes left on the game clock. Great time to remind you that this broadcast of Whiteland football is brought to you by Johnson County Axe Throwing, located at 6001 North US 31 in Whiteland. Johnson County Axe Throwing is safe and fun for the whole family. With seasonal leagues, corporate events, and 50% off for military and their families, there's always something to love at Johnson County Axe Throwing, proud sponsor of the Whiteland Bee Sports Network. WBSN would also like to thank Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender for being a title supporter of Whiteland Athletics. Family owned and committed to the community, Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender. So we said before the broadcast it would be tough for Whiteland to not overlook this game. And they have done just that, only leading by 10 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, what was expected to be a blowout for Whiteland has just come back to really bite them. You know, they completely underestimated the Falcons, and it's left me speechless, quite frankly.
Like you said, the motivation going into tonight's game was it would be a Whiteland win. However, Whiteland still up by 10, though, so they still have a little bit of motivation from that, but they really need to get something going.
Whiteland will pass out of empty. It's a throw. Cam Cooper down the field and up the seam. Down at the 41-yard line. That is what Whiteland needed.
It's a big play for Whiteland. After the interception, Kevin Denham with his first pass after. Like we saw in the first quarter, his first pass, interception. After that, great passing from there. But now we see after this interception, first pass, great catch by Cameron Cooper to get to the 41. And, just an overall big play for the Warriors.
Pitch to Emberton. To the boundary. Gets a gain of 4 with the forward progress. Bring up 2nd and 6. So the Warriors looking to capitalize on what little momentum they have left. Only 5 seconds left on the play clock. They hand off to Moore Smith. Moore Smith cuts behind Armstrong, gets the first down, and a few yards afterwards. 1st and 10 for the Warriors at the Perry 45-yard line.
Yeah, just a great lead block by Hughes and Armstrong there to allow Moore Smith to get the first down. Obviously, Moore Smith would have got a couple yards to get closer to that first down, but just a great momentum changer to allow Whiteland to get past the 50-yard line.
Crowley in at sweeper. Crowley in motion now. Hand off to Emberton, up the gut, fighting for those extra yards. He'll be short of the first down. Bring up 2nd and short. So the Warriors just continuing to methodically drive down the field. Also trying to run some clock off. That way they give Perry a minimal amount of possessions.
Yeah, with Perry only having one timeout left, Whiteland wants to run the clock down as low as it can while still getting a touchdown just to put more pressure on Perry's offense to get something going.
Valentine with the power run. Good enough for a Warriors first down.
Yeah, just creeping across. That's exactly what we want to see from the Warriors. We could have a huge breakout play right here, but even those small plays where you're able to creep forward, get those first downs, that's still great, and that still provides amazing motivation for our players.
So the Warriors now at the 36-yard line. Moore Smith in motion. He'll cut it upfield, and he's brought down with a gain of 1 yard. And Moore Smith has usually been more explosive around the perimeter. Interesting decision to cut it up right there.
Yeah, it looked like the defense had read that and just piled on to him.
So the Perry defense, so far the second half, able to hold Whiteland to only one touchdown. Crowley in motion. Denham drops back, has Armstrong in the flat. He'll fight for extra yards. They'll bring up third and median. We saw that play earlier for the two-point conversion where Armstrong made that amazing play, that juggling catch, and then reaching out for the pylon to get those 2 points on the board for the Warriors.
Yeah, and that play was very big for the Warriors. Obviously trying to get some, extra momentum out of that play because obviously we saw Whiteland gain something after that two-point conversion. So maybe trying to run the same play, trying to get that same kind of confidence back for this offense.
Yeah, our cameras are shaking here. Perry is getting really hyped up for this run.
And Whiteland will call timeout with 3rd and 6 approaching. And the Warriors have been pretty strong in the fourth quarter so far this year.
Yeah, they're outscoring opponents 31-6 in the fourth right now. Neither team has scored anything in the fourth. So with 8 minutes left, what will we see? Obviously, Whiteland is past 50-yard line, and Perry only has one timeout. So you never know what you're going to see. So right now, just expect the unexpected.
Yeah, expect the unexpected is definitely the motto for this game. Perry has really shown us their A game, shown us the variety that they can throw together, and how effective that has been on our defense and offense for that matter.
So Whiteland taking their time in the huddle. Third and 6 for the Warriors.
Yeah, that air horn is still not broken, unfortunately.
Pitch to Emberton, to the boundary, makes a man miss, and he is brought down on the line of scrimmage by Lewis Humphrey. It'll be 4th and 5 for the Warriors. And decision to make here, as they are just barely in field goal range. However, I don't think they want to settle right here in scoring position.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, 4th and 7 against Lawrence North. They went for it, and they got first down and more. Right now, I'm expecting Coach Fisher to have his offense go for it, because even if you go for the field goal with David Mathis, you're only up by 13, and that makes it possible for Perry to get 2 touchdowns and to be up.
Moore Smith in motion. Denham rolls out, has Moore Smith wide open in the flat. Moore Smith down the sideline, makes a man miss for the touchdown. Nyrius Moore Smith coming in clutch when it matters most.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the second touchdown the Warriors have had on a 4th down. So, I mean, just some big plays coming out of Whiteland, primarily on 4th downs right here.
Oh, yeah, that's incredible. That's exactly what we needed right here. You just got to be so happy that they decided to go with that play instead of just trying to punt it off.
So now David Mathis is on to break 40. And no problem for David Mathis as he punches it right through the uprights. 40-23 for the Warriors, extending their lead to 17 points. And boy, was that just a dagger in the heart of these Perry fans.
Yeah, I mean, you heard them getting wild, and you saw them obviously shaking the camera. But, just a big touchdown for the Warriors. Right here, as you see Kevin Denham drop back to a strong side to Nyrius Smith, get a catch, and eventually breaking the two defenders. Again, the touchdown is big for the Warriors to make it 17 points, which is 3 scores now instead of 2.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that is the most important touchdown so far of the entire season. I mean, that gives the Warriors their confidence back. I think that they think they can beat them now. I think that they're like, yeah, this is what we came out here to do. Perry showed up, but I think the Warriors have answered that call now.
So a 40-23 lead in Mathis to kick off. Hahn and Needham deep to return. And this will be a little pooch kick. And Moore-Smith's going to recover it. Nyrius Moore-Smith making a play for the touchdown and now catches the Perry defense, the Perry return team off guard with a little sky kick. And Moore-Smith just hopped right on it. No one even saw it coming.
I mean, I wasn't expecting an onside kick, but right here we see Perry's returners just have the biggest miscommunication. Not even miscommunication. They just didn't know what was happening. And Nyrius Moore-Smith just came in here and was like, oh, here's a ball. And, now Whiteland has possession again.
Yeah, it was see ball, get ball for Moore-Smith and not for the Perry return team. So the Whiteland offense will trot back out. And it wouldn't surprise me if Fisher killed all 7 minutes of clock just running 36 yards.
Yeah, student section is letting the Perry fans know, hey, we can't hear you now.
Denham drops back. Post to Hicks, way overthrown. However, it looks like Needham was getting handsy there. So that'll be a pass interference on Perry Meridian.
Yeah, you saw a pass interference on Whiteland earlier in the game. Whiteland fans didn't necessarily like the call, but now you see one against Perry. And, up 17, Whiteland is just getting everything going their way right now.
Yeah, I think this is how many expected the game to go. Just Whiteland possession, Whiteland scoring, everything going Whiteland's way. But Perry really showed out in the first half of the game, or the first quarter and then the third quarter of this game.
So the penalty makes that post play a 15-yard gain and a Warriors first down. Denham under center. Steele in motion in his first action tonight. Steele takes a sweep, has room to run. Led by Armstrong. And he'll be brought down after a gain of about 5.
Again, his first action in this game, not the worst run. Obviously, with the going to the outside, he would like to see more yardage. I mean, he got 8 yards, but against this Perry defense, you got to get as much as you can.
And that is finally positive yardage for Austin Steele. He had a carry against Franklin, went for -4, so glad to see him get some gain yardage right there. Slate Valentine up the gut. His forward progress will get him the first down.
A bit of a suplex there we saw. Threw him right over the back of his shoulder.
Yeah, I think that's the frustration showing for Perry Meridian right there. As they really wanted this one at the end of the third quarter. They really thought they could get this one. However, the dagger in the throw was that Nyrius Moore-Smith touchdown catch. Armstrong now cuts it up. Gain of 2. He'll bring up 2nd and goal for Devin Armstrong in the Warriors offense. Devin Armstrong getting his 2nd carry tonight. Last game, Armstrong had 1 carry for 3 yards. Kind of his forte.
Yeah, you don't see Armstrong getting that many carries, but he has definitely done something with them. And not a carry, but that 2-point conversion earlier in the game. Crazy fumble catch and dive towards the pylon to complete the conversion. So Devin Armstrong has definitely had, more of a contribution this game.
And the Warriors will call timeout to avoid the delay of game penalty. Gonna get out of the huddle sooner.
Yeah, I think Whiteland's just trying to run down the clock, but they got a little bit too low on the clock, so they had to call a timeout. Now both teams only have 1, 17-point lead for Whiteland with 5 minutes. Timeouts aren't as big as they were looking forward into the 4th quarter, but now only having 1 timeout, if you want to run down that clock, it makes it a bit tougher.
5:27 left on that clock. Here in the 4th quarter as the Warriors are up 17. And the Warriors really milking this timeout. The Warriors back out on the field now. The 7-yard line. 2nd and goal. Toss to Valentine up the middle, stretching for the goal line. However, he's a yard short.
Yeah, great run by Valentine. He hasn't gotten many touches this game, but he's definitely provided when he has. Almost with the touchdown to maybe seal this deal. I mean, there's still 5 minutes left, but being up 24, it kind of makes it a bit harder for Perry.
Yeah, we don't want to jinx ourselves, though.
Steele back in the game at sweeper. No motion, however, as Valentine will cut it up, and he's dragged down a yard short once again. Great interior defense for Perry right there. That was Warren.
Yeah, 4th down with the Warriors, 1 yard short of the goal line. Obviously going to go for it instead of going for the field goal, up by 17. So Warriors looking for a touchdown, but even if they don't.
Well, they'll wedge it with Denham, and he will definitely get in for the Warriors touchdown. And boy, is that just icing on the cake. Up now 23. David Mathis will come on and try to make it 24.
Yeah, that's what Kevin Denham does best on the goal line. See him a lot this year, going for that quarterback sneak. We haven't seen much this game because we haven't gotten that close on the goal line, but we have gotten a lot of touchdowns on passing and, rushing. But, getting Kevin Denham touchdown in this game is big going into the rest of the season.
David Mathis extra point right through the uprights. 24-point lead for the Warriors, 47-23 with 4:15 left in this 4th quarter. That was Denham's 4th rushing touchdown on the year off of a QB sneak. And just strength, pure strength from that offensive line, all seniors. That's been a go-to play in the red zone for Fisher.
Yeah, and I think that's been a go-to play just because of the goal line, not necessarily because of Kevin Denham, but because of how strong that O-line is, trying to push forward and, getting Denham in. It's been successful throughout the year, and, you just saw it being successful again.
So Needham and Hahn deep to return back again. David Mathis to kick off.
And you see Perry actually moving up just in case Whiteland does decide going for that onside kick again. However, I would not expect it being up 24.
Squib kick from Mathis, returned by Huckabee. Huckabee up the middle. Huckabee making men miss. Huckabee will finally be brought down by Cam Cooper at their own 43-yard line. So we've just gotten news from our PA announcer here that we will announce Martinsville with a last-second finish to win over Franklin, who we saw just here last week, lost 21-0 over, lost 21-0 to the Warriors.
Yeah, and the Warriors are facing Martinsville next week, so may provide momentum for Martinsville going against Franklin and beating them late in the fourth.
Caldera rolls out, finds Hahn. It's broken up, but it looks like Davidson was there just a little too early.
Yeah, you saw Davidson kind of wrap his arms around Hahn there, and the ref saw it, and you just can't get there that early. You just got to play the ball as the ball gets there.
And, you know, Davidson pleading his case. And to be fair, we have seen a couple, you know, controversial calls from the refs so far this evening, but it looks like that one was no doubt a pass interference.
Yeah, and that just adds to the list of penalties from the Warriors. You know, we've given up so many yards here. It's just, it's dangerous, quite frankly, and especially when we're going up against teams like Mooresville coming up. We can't afford to give up penalties like that.
So they'll move the ball up 15 yards for a 1st and 10. As Caldera runs back out to greet his offense once more. Caldera under center. Hand off to Warren. Runs over a man before he is trucked by Jonathan Crowley.
We haven't seen much of Jonathan Crowley in the backfield on defense there, but we definitely saw him, you know, saw Warren get through there, and he saw Crowley just read that perfectly and get a great tackle.
Some 32-on-32 crime right there. As Crowley just ran over Warren. I don't think Perry's coach was happy about that celebration either. Caldera, quick screen to Hunter, thrown out in front of him. And Hunter goes to work, finally brought down by Dalton Hughes.
Just another mishap on that hitch play by Perry. You know, saw it in the first quarter, but haven't seen it much now. But, you know, Warriors laying this game, just got to read it better.
Yeah, that's the third time that screenplay to Hunter has gone for a 1st down. He's shifty in the open field. Hand off to Warren, and he is brought down immediately. Mason Darlington. We called his name several times last week. Not too much tonight, but there he is once again, just enforcing in the middle. And it looks like there is an injury on the field. That does not look good. That is Peyton Dotson.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at the end of the play when they were bringing Warren down, I saw Peyton kind of hitch his back like he got bent too far, and he may have. Back injuries are very bad injuries.
And it looks like could be his legs. Either way, we are going to take a break. Football when you return on the Whiteland Beat Sports Network.
You're going to want to look for weeds, sunken structures, down trees, stuff like that. And let that breeze tell you where you want to go. Windy days like this, Those bait fish will come swimming closer to shore. They'll bring the big boys with them, those bass and those pike. Now, they like cooler temperatures, so you ain't likely to have much luck.
You're good at giving fishing advice. We're good at your insurance. Start with Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance and stop knocking on wood.
They've always been with live bait.
Hi, I'm Matt Wolford, president of the IHSAA Foundation, and we need your help. We need your help so the youth of our community can develop advanced leadership skills. We need your help giving high school administrators and coaches the instruction and insight they need to be better role models and teachers. To learn more or to make a tax-deductible contribution, go to IHSAAfoundation.org. You'll not only be contributing to the foundation of the IHSAA, you'll be contributing to the foundation of our community.
So with the help of the medical staff, Peyton Dotson is working his way off the field after what looked like a scary injury there for a second.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see him at least walking with help. You know, if he were not be able to, then it would definitely be gone down as a serious injury. However, you know, he still looks pretty bad, but walking with help at least means that he can put some weight on that leg if it is his leg.
Yeah, it looked like either, to our vantage point, we hate to speculate, but it looked like either an ankle or a knee injury. As the student section chants his name in support. And the refs, you know, get the game started again. Here with 2:34 left to go in this fourth quarter. Warriors up 24 points. Caldera under center for the Falcons. Tried to get Whiteland to jump there. Play action. Stanifer came running, and Moore Smith almost had another pick right there. Looked like Hahn had to break it up, the wide receiver.
Nyrius Moore-Smith this season has just been reading the ball great on those passes. You know, we've seen a lot of defensive pass interferences on both teams. You know, I wouldn't say that was the cleanest, you know, defense by Moore-Smith, but also by Hahn. But, you know, with how this game is looking with only 2 minutes left, it's not necessary for a penalty to be called.
And you saw Stanifer right there blitzing. Got right in Caldera's face and forced it to be underthrown. As Warren with the inside zone. It's a gain of 2 on the play. They'll bring up fourth and medium for the Falcons. And Warren's helmet came off. He'll have to leave the game for a play. However, it looked like he was signaling to the sideline, hey, they pulled my face mask. I should be able to stay in. However, no flag was thrown.
It's actually the second time we've seen his helmet come off this game. So maybe it's something with the helmet. Maybe it's a Whiteland defense, but, you know, refs didn't see anything, so maybe nothing went down.
Jonathan Hunter now at the running back position. However, it's play action from Caldera. He's sprinting out and completes a nice pass. That's Jalen Young once again. Did he get the first down, however? It's going to be an interesting spot right here. And they're going to say it's first down Warriors. So he caught the pass, but he was just short of the sticks. And the Warriors will come out with 1:43 left here in this fourth quarter, up by 24.
And I'm assuming the Warriors are going to run down the clock, maybe kneel a couple times, run it for the first down, you know, with about 1:45 left, up by 24. There's not much Perry can do.
Yeah, Perry only has 1 timeout. And at this point, I doubt they'll use it.
You know, we saw some promising stuff from Perry coming into the fourth quarter, but Whiteland has taken initiative. It's been Perry 1 quarter, Whiteland, Perry, Whiteland, and Whiteland has just pulled out enough.
Reese Davison at quarterback, the backup. Hand off to Steele. Gets some yards, however, this one might be coming back for the Warriors. As a flag was thrown in the backfield, that's going to be a holding.
I mean, that's another flag against the offense. You know, got to clean up that game. Really just got to clean up that game.
So this is the second team offense in. So that could be an excuse for the sloppy play. However, still something you'd want to clean up before their game tomorrow. Slate Valentine up the gut, gaining the penalty yardage back. So it'll be 2nd and 12 for the Warriors. Close to gaining that penalty yardage back. And they break the huddle once more. Less than 40 to go now.
You know, if I were the Whiteland coaches, I would want to see a pass coming up just to see what the backup quarterback for Whiteland can do just in case, you know, Kevin Denham needs to come out of a game for a little bit. You know, you just, right here in this game, you know, with a little bit left, you want to see what this backup squad can do.
So it's a 7-yard run from Slate Valentine. Brings up 3rd and 5, however. I think that'll do it as both teams go into midfield. And the final seconds will tick off the clock. Warriors 47, Falcons 23. So it's final. A 24-point win for the Whiteland Warriors on homecoming.
Yeah, I must say, it wasn't looking great to start in the first quarter. Whiteland brought it back in the second, and then Perry started out guns blazing at a halftime. But Whiteland kept bringing it back. Even after Whiteland gave up a bit of points and started losing momentum, Whiteland gained it back out of some big plays from Emberton, Cooper, Armstrong, just a myriad of players Whiteland kept getting momentum from.
Yeah, and I really don't feel like the score here is representative of how close this game really was. You know, without those breakout plays during the on 4th down, I don't think we would have pulled out, you know, a 24 win.
Yeah, and honestly, what should have been a tune-up game for the Warriors kind of raises more questions than answers, especially going into 2 tough games against Martinsville, who just beat Franklin, we found out, and Mooresville, who I believe beat Decatur tonight. So some tough teams coming up in the next couple weeks for Whiteland. However, they are 5-0, number 1 in 5A, and looking to continue on that streak.
Yeah, and like I said, it raises some questions on how Whiteland's defense will perform against Martinsville and Mooresville. However, you just got to keep going at your pace. You know, Whiteland shut out Franklin, and then they allowed 23 points to Perry Meridian. But now Whiteland's defense has to bring it back, and they have to play how they play.
Final reminder that this broadcast of Whiteland football was brought to you by Johnson County Axe-Bowing. Located at 6001 North US 31 in Whiteland, Johnson County Axe-Bowing is safe and fun for the whole family. With seasonal leagues, corporate events, and 50% off for military and their families, there's always something to love at Johnson County Axe-Bowing, proud sponsor of the Whiteland Beat Sports Network. WBSN would also like to thank Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender for being a title supporter of Whiteland Athletics. Family owned and committed to the community, Bailey & Wood Mortgage Lender. So with that, we would like to conclude our broadcast. For Cooper Williams, Michael Park along my side. On camera, we had Kenzie Harris, Jordan Reitman, and Charlie Parker, Hoko Prince runner-up, and director and executive producer, Mr. Corley, of course. I'm Jane Collins. We would like to thank you for tuning into this broadcast. Good night.